Morning all from myself, from Waffles here, from Bear. And Shadow's just out of screen over here. We're going to do a News of the Day video for all you fine people for your Saturday, April 9th, 20 days before the end of the season. Kind of an exciting time right now. We're getting closer and closer to the playoffs and looking forward to, I'm already thinking ahead to man, I'm going to be able to do the series previews and who's going to be against who. So starting to really get into the excitement of who potentially could face who and how that could all work out. So we're going to do a News of the Day video first, though. We're starting off with Casey Cizikas, who has a hearing today for boarding Brendan Smith of the Carolina Hurricanes last night. Now, at the time that the play took place, and I didn't mention this in the review, I meant to, Trip Tracy talked about how with a boarding call like that, it should be that the referee calls five and then does a review on it. I honestly think that there should be some mechanism in place for if a player gets hurt and the referee doesn't see it, that the referee just goes over and reviews the play to see whether or not there was a penalty on the play. And in the case of a boarding call, I agree. It's dangerous hit. There are times where the guy who takes the hit, maybe he's at fault for some reason that he doesn't have his head up or he turns at the very last second. And I get that. I get those arguments. But when somebody gets hurt like that, it makes sense to me to call five, and then you can drop it to two if you want on the review. We've seen referees do that lately. There's been I can think of at least one incident where referees have called it a five so they could review the play. I think they should just be allowed to review the play anyways. It really doesn't take that long to see whether or not there's a penalty. It's not like it's not as hard to tell if there should be a penalty on a play as if a high stick is a high stick on a goal or whether or not there's goalie interference. Honestly, it wouldn't take that much time. But Cizikas will be suspended, and it's odd because the referee saw it in real time and gave him 2-minute boarding call on the play. So he finished out the game, and now he's going to get suspended. And I've always thought that's an odd situation. Hits to the head are 1-2 where you get 2 minutes for a hit to the head, and then you'll see Department of Player Safety come out and add supplementary discipline, which I just find the whole thing odd. I think letting referees just look at the play and say, I didn't see it, what happened. I don't see any problem with that. I mean, if referees can consult with each other and if the linesmen can come in and give their feedback, I don't see any reason why you couldn't have a video feed as well that they can consult at times, because it's a fast sport. A lot happens really quickly, and it is easy to miss stuff out there. All right, moving along. New Jersey Devils news. Miles Woods is out for the season. So he was returning from hip surgery, and he did for 3 games. Not as effective in those 3 games back as usual, but understandable that he'd been off for that long. But now he's out the rest of the season, so I guess the hip wasn't 100%. And so he's got an off season now to figure that out and get himself up to speed. And I'll be glad when he does, because Woods has been a very effective forward for New Jersey when he is healthy. Jonas Siegenthaler also likely out the rest of the season. Turns out he has a broken hand. So that's definitely something that doesn't just go away overnight or in a week or two. And so, Siegenthaler will be out likely until October. For New Jersey, though, I mean, their season was over a while ago. So really it's a matter of making sure players are healthy and good to go in the fall. Owen Power. Nope. Start with Jeff Petry first. I thought, well, I could skip and then go back. Nope. Jeff Petry returns today for the Montreal Canadiens. For Montreal, of course, they also have Jake Allen starting tonight. Carey Price is close, but Allen's starting tonight against the Leafs. So you won't see Carey Price against the Toronto Maple Leafs this season, as it's the final meeting between Montreal and Toronto tonight. Petry will be back, and we'll see how things go. It feels like most players have been playing better since Marty St. Louis took over, and so we'll see how Petry does in his return tonight. Owen Power. Now I can talk about Owen Power. His NHL debut is likely Tuesday against Toronto. I haven't seen it 100% confirmed, but it's likely. Which means that he debuts against a team that gets a lot of coverage, and so there'll be a lot of eyeballs on him. And honestly, I think that there's legitimate excitement, and I think it's warranted when it comes to Owen Power and what he might do for the Buffalo Sabres. Just in general, I think he could be a really solid two-way defenseman with some really good offensive upside. And so we'll see against Toronto how much he plays. Does he start on the third pairing? And if he does he end on the third pairing, and does he work his way up? We have already seen in international competition he can play against men. He can dominate against men his own age, and so I'm looking forward to seeing how he does at the NHL level. So over the last week or so, an interesting situation develops here where Auston Matthews is setting Leaf records, and he's on this incredible goal scoring run. Now, in general, I know that there's people who will say that they're saturated with news on the Auston Matthews front, and might groan a little bit when Auston Matthews does something. But again, it's similar to Ovi when I was counting the Ovi goals as he was getting closer and closer to Yager. I'm not counting the Ovi goals now because he's not going to pass Gordie Howe this year. But next year I will start counting them again, and we'll get into, once he passes Gordie Howe, then it's a matter of counting down to Gretzky. And I can understand the frustration with that on some level, but at the same time, it is historic. What Auston Matthews is doing in Toronto right now is historic. And I understand the playoffs argument. I'm right there on the concern about whether or not they have a goaltender that can lead them through 4 rounds. But Matthews, it's special. And so when there's coverage there, I'll definitely look at it. And obviously, I would need to be reporting on this. I would feel like it was wrong if I'm not reporting on it, to just say, well, I'm not going to report on that because it's Matthews, and we know that. Now, some of the mundane stuff with Toronto, I stay out of, but the Matthews stuff this year, it feels like he's having a special year. And not only that, but with the way that he makes it look, as I've said recently, effortless, I think this is the first of many years that he's going to be scoring at this rate. And then, of course, the pressure point's going to be once Matthews, Marner, once their careers are coming due, once their contracts are coming due, not their careers, their contracts, how do the Leafs navigate this? Do you have to give them raises? Does the play right now of Marner and Matthews mean that if their contracts were up this year, would they already warrant raises? Do you give them the same money? Do you try to argue them down a little bit because you want to, populate the rest of the roster with the top caliber players so you can be a true Stanley Cup contender? Are you already a cup contender? If you are, you can give them what they want. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Of course, then we'll have the salary cap situation as well, which should start to clear itself up by 2025, 2026. Does that extend the window for the Toronto Maple Leafs? What does that do? So, again, I understand the fatigue people feel with Toronto coverage, but in this case, there are some interesting storylines there, and Matthews' goal scoring prowess right now is it's something to behold. All right, and on to Vegas news, because sure, why not? Nick Hague, Brett Howden are now on LTIR. I've seen the comments about the cheating, yada yada yada. They need $4.495 million more in cap space in order to take Mark Stone off LTIR. So what would cover that is trading Dodonov again. Remember, the rumor at the trade deadline was that when that trade was nixed and they weren't able to make it, they could still end up trading him anyways, because it just means he can't play the rest of the regular season or playoffs on whatever team acquires him. But it also would allow them to bring Mark Stone off LTIR. And it is interesting to me, too, because Vegas is not above the playoff line right now. So if they miss the playoffs, I think that would lead to GM saying, you know what? Who cares about the LTIR loophole? They didn't even make the playoffs. Now, if they make the playoffs, and if Stone plays a huge role in that run, there might be some complaints. But again, to me, it's felt like, especially when Eichel came in and they make the moves they made, it's felt like their roster hasn't been as good as it should be. And it's because they're having to do these salary cap gymnastics. So that's my view on it. Is I can understand people thinking it's kind of unseemly or however you want to look at it, but I think it's working the way it's supposed to, because they can't have a full roster, and this was the whole idea behind it. All right, you guys want to go over the cap, fine, but you can't have a full roster. Then you're going to have guys out of the lineup. So again, we'll see what they do, but they do need more space, and there are ways to find that, but the ways to get that space would involve weakening the roster again. You're gonna have to send guys to the minors. You're gonna have to move guys here and there and all that, and you end up weakening the roster in that event. At least I think so. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.